Are you in on it?
I'm in on it.
Yep, I'm definitely in on it.
Just got in on it last week.
Yeah, took us by surprise, but we're definitely in on it now.
The it these people are in on is the surprisingly great rates for auto insurance from State Farm.
Can I get in on it?
Absolutely. Just contact your local State Farm agent today and you can get in on some surprisingly great rates too. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
When you want the real deal, call State Farm agent Deidre Bembry in Noonan today.
After a long postseason run in the spring, the Columbus River Dragons are gearing up for the 2022-23 season at the Columbus Civic Center. Inside Edge Club packages for you to guarantee your seat at every home game this season are available now by visiting ourdragons.com or by calling the offices at 706-507-GOAL. That's 706-507-4625. And stay up to date with all things River Dragons this offseason by following the team on social media, C_River Dragons on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok.
WQEE 99.1 FM Noonan, WBRQ LaGrange, WZV 90.5 FM Lineville, JC Sports Networks.
Blue skies smiling at me, nothing but blue skies do I see.
Good morning. I'm Gail Nankervis, your host of the Less Sucky Divorce radio show, and I'm the owner of Blue Skies Mediation in Peachtree City. I help people get a less sucky divorce. Not you, but maybe your neighbor or friend or sister. I'm a certified divorce financial analyst and a licensed family mediator, and I use these skills with my clients to help them get a professional divorce without escalating fees and emotions. My goal is to help them get through the divorce process while retaining their sanity, their assets, and most importantly, their integrity. So the topic of divorce for a radio show might seem a little weird, but with more than 50% of marriages ending in divorce, I thought it was important to share information and resources with the community. Even though divorce is very common, people don't typically talk about it while they're going through it. You usually just hear the nightmare stories at the end of it. So my goal is to change the way people in our community get divorced through educating them about different aspects, the process, the financial side, the emotional side, and everything in between. I'm excited to be here today, and we will be right back with the Less Sucky Divorce radio show.
Good morning. This is Gail Nankervis, the host of the Less Sucky Divorce radio show. And today I am actually in Florida, moving my daughter into college. She's my second daughter. And so we're getting her out the door and super excited about that. So instead of having a live session today, I'm sharing with you a recording by two colleagues of mine. Vicky Townsend is the owner of Divorce Right, and she will be a guest on the show next week. And Brenda Miller is the author of Bullyproof Yourself and Your Kids, and they're going to discuss today how to dissolve stress in 30 seconds, something we can all learn from whether we're getting divorced or just having a bad day. So I hope you enjoy the session, and I look forward to being back with you next week.
You know, when you see somebody who's disagreeable, demanding, and you start to feel tense, you can checkmate them so easily.
Oh, tell me about that.
Yeah. You say, what can I do to help?
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today on this podcast. Today, the topic is so incredible and so important, and something that you can use not only at work, but something that you can use at home as well. We're going to be talking about how to dissolve stress in 30 seconds, not 30 minutes, 30 seconds. And our special guest today is Brenda Miller. Brenda's quest has been to find right now relief in an upset so that you can go from chaos to calmness in 30 seconds when challenges of any kind arise at home or in the workplace. To aid in that endeavor, she taught conscious conflict resolution in 6 countries. Her devotion to instant evolution out of common stressors like kid chaos for parents and grandparents, calmness in the classroom for teachers, and workplace woes to workplace wisdom began 20 years ago. And ever since, she's been offering others through her private practice, books, courses, and by speaking to audiences, ways to free themselves from upset and inner conflict on the spot. She discovered that joy is natural to all of us, and she enthusiastically helps people rediscover theirs all day long by using one of the strategies in her book, The Kid Code, 30-Second Parenting Strategies, endorsed by Jack Canfield, best-selling co-author of Chicken Soup for the Soul series. He says, I absolutely love your work. Your book is phenomenal, and everybody needs this book. And you can reach Brenda at www.thekidco.ca. That's for Canada, right, Brenda?
Yes, it is.
So you're in Canada. So thank you so much for doing this with us today. I'm so excited because you teach people how to dissolve stress in 30 seconds, a bold claim. So tell us about this. How did you come about this amazing information? How did you design most of these techniques? Tell us about this.
So thank you so much for having me on, Vicky. There's nothing I love more than sharing this information and helping people change their lives on the spot. I know that we in the workplace or as parents, or even teachers in the classroom, anybody, the two big problems we have are no time, and we don't have strategies that work to give us right now relief. And so I love to make this another really bold statement is stress is optional. And I love to help people prove that to themselves. And that's exactly what I intend on doing. So it's really wonderful the way I was taught these lessons. So, as a little kid, I spent some of my formative years hiding in a cupboard. That turned out to be a blessing. Someone I love attempted suicide twice, once in front of me. That was an incredible blessing because as we were in the hospital and he was getting stitched up, elbows to wrists, and I was in a state of shock, everything that was unimportant fell away. And I was able only to speak to him from a place of absolute pure intelligence and love. And I thought, oh my God, I want to speak to him and everyone else from this place for the rest of my life. What happened? I wondered. I set out into the world 20 years ago to find out if we could, with a little bit of elbow grease and some willingness and the right strategies, could we transform consciously, willingly, any upset? Somebody cuts me off on the freeway. An employee doesn't make it to work on time. A partner comes home and says, I want a divorce. Any situation whatsoever. Could we have strategies to use during those stressful times in the same way that had happened to me, which was quite spontaneously? So that really set me out on this pathway. And I especially wanted to figure out how to dissolve stress in 30 seconds. Because who needs stress? We don't need it anymore unless we're running out of the way of a bus. And how often in the day are we doing that? So the other really important thing, Vicky, that was such a surprise to me and is integral to this work is that I had lost my belly laugh and I wondered, well, where did that go? So I started observing kids because they have theirs. And I just thought, well, maybe they'll be able to help me. So what I realized was, how kids, like they're in a sandbox, they don't care about your status in the community, the car you drive, your color of your skin, your body size, anything. And it's because they're not informed or they don't register those things because they're not the thing. They're not important. So what is the thing? The thing is what they taught me, which is when they're inclusive in the sandbox, when they're playful, when they're belly laughing, they're in their nature. And it hit me like a lightning bolt when I realized that's our nature too. It's just been obscured. And how I know that is when I'm in those states, I feel natural. So it's part of my nature. When I'm in a negative state, I don't feel natural ever. So I realized, well, that's not part of my nature then. And so every time I started to not feel natural, I decided I needed to use a strategy. So I have devised over 100 of them. And I can't wait to share some of them with you right now.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that because God knows that I need those. So that's awesome. So what are some of the strategies that what I love about this work is that you can offer these strategies for parents. You originally did this for parents, for their children, to stop their kids from having temper tantrums and all of those kinds of things. But what I love about your work is that it is applicable from an adult to an adult. And there are some strategies that you can offer professionals in HR to help themselves in their challenging jobs, and to help the employees that they see come into their office under extreme stress. So why don't you talk about some of those strategies that we can adopt right away? Okay, so the first thing is I recommend they go in your policy manuals wherever you are after you've experienced them, and you can see how effective they are, and that it takes all of the stress out of a lot of the problems we have in our home life or our business life. So the first one I want to talk about is, and you all know this, for your listeners, I know you know this, Vicky, from our conversation, but people want to support people they feel connected to. So your employees, your customers, your kids, anybody will want to support you if they feel connected to you. Sometimes that's really tough in an HR position, in a divorce position, in any kind of difficult position. So what I recommend you do is find just one thing to appreciate about that person that is tough to appreciate, just one thing. And you keep your mind on that. Because if you join in their upset, or when they're being challenging or difficult, if they're being difficult, then, and you join in that at that level, it'll be very hard. It's hard on you. And really, well-being is our goal here. So, a way to do that is take genuine interest in what's important in their lives. For example, casual chats, you bring up family and hobbies, sports. You all know these strategies, but the point is, this can take 30 seconds for you to remind yourself they're going to support me if they feel connected to me. That's the first strategy to remember. The next one is, I love this in offices when there's a sign that says no dumping here. Why? In the staff room. Because who of us wants to be around somebody who's angry and ranting? Nobody. So what we recommend is several things. Like the staff room, you would like to be sane and serene. So one of the things we recommend for all the employees is put a note in your pocket. This is a Canadian teacher who taught me this one. Put the note in that says, I don't need my raging story anymore. And every single time you feel anger start to rise, you can't put a lid on lava unless you become really aware that, wow, I'm starting to go into an angry state for no good reason, and bring this note out and have a look at it. In fact, so Vicky, if we think about somebody who's angry, we watch that they think they're the authority. They are certain that they're right. They think they have the right to be angry at everyone. And notice that's us when we're angry. And angry it's really just toxic to the body. But my favorite strategy, and I have one, is a dunce cap. And I put it on every single time I get angry. Now, I know we won't do this in the workplace, but I can guarantee you, if you think about it, think about the last time you were angry. We begin to think like a dunce, speak like a dunce, and act like a dunce. That's a guarantee. If you just watch that once, you'll really want to get yourself out of that situation. It's really just about becoming conscious about what anger really does to us. It's fracturing relationships. It's toxic to the body. We just don't need it anymore. And we can dissolve it in 30 seconds. So I recommend making a dunce cap. However, you have to be careful with that too, because we don't want to offend everybody. But the way I've done it with people is I show them my dunce cap and I show them how I use it when I'm angry, and they have the choice to or not. And another really good idea is, everybody knows this, to use the breath, but I'll bet everybody doesn't know this. And this is what makes people start to cooperate with the breath rather than saying it'll take away your stress. They don't cooperate so much with that, but I find they love this, that yogis from the Far East say that you live longer if you slow down and deepen your breathing. So we all know that the breath, especially I remember Eckhart Tolle taught a really good one.
If you actually follow your breath, let's do it right now. If you follow, all your listeners can just follow their breath in, full attention and focus on the in-breath, full attention and focus on the out-breath. If you do that, you'll notice you can't think. Why? Because where you have your attention will determine your experience. So anytime you get angry or upset or anything, if you just use this, you can bring yourself back into sanity and then take the proper steps.
That's a good one.
And so anger has never delivered what it promised. So this is why we've devised strategies to dissolve it in 30 seconds. Now, will it work every single time? No. It'll take some time and practice, even for you to remember that, well, I don't want to feel angry. And you know why it can dissolve? Because it's not your nature. You feel outside of your nature when you're angry. And that's the only reason it can dissolve anyway. We can't dissolve anything that's true. Right. The truth doesn't dissolve, but we can dissolve the anger. You know, the next one is one of my favorites, because one day I was driving my dad's too big truck in his too small corral, and I put a dent in it. And he opened his arms wide open to me when I showed him and apologized and said, it doesn't matter a particle. And on that day, I learned how to give myself and others grace, not grief, when a mistake is made, because there's magic in the message, you matter more than the mistake. So, you know, if your colleagues make a mistake, you say and feel the truth of the sentence, you matter more than the mistake. If it's okay to say it out loud, in other words, if it's a policy in your company and they do know about it, you can say it out loud. But if you say and feel the truth of that statement, the stress from a mistake is dissolved. So if a customer makes a mistake, or let's say you're getting a divorce and your partner's making quite a few mistakes, you're likely not to say this out loud to them, but for your own well-being, you'll say, you know, that's a human being. They matter more than the mistake they're making. This is to get you out of a stressed state. But if you use it with children, imagine when you get this instead of disapproval for a mistake. And think about how many mistakes we make in a day. I don't know about you, Vicky, but I still do.
I may have one or two.
And that's all we are going to reveal. One or two. That's enough. But imagine if since the mistake is already made, I'm open and I'm still looking for a good reason to be upset, but I haven't found one. It just isn't helpful. Not that I don't still get upset, but as soon as I do, I use a strategy to get myself out of it. So part 2 of blessing mistakes, where you give someone grace instead of grief for a mistake, is making it right. So what I recommend for businesses is you actually put signs up. Give them a break, bless the mistake, avoid a fight, make it right. So remember, part 2 is you make it right, because it actually feels better to make a mistake right, to apologize, clean it up, replace it, than it does to defend or deny a mistake. And you can prove that to yourself by noticing, how do you feel if you hide a mistake versus just make it right? So this takes less than 30 seconds. So if you think of somebody who's recently made a mistake in your life, and you imagine, yes, they actually matter more than their mistake. We take the focus off of the mistake, and this just delivers us back to our, what I call, joyfully harmless nature. So you can use that anytime. You know, somebody has a short fuse or doesn't cooperate or complains, gossips, anything. Really, any negative state, you can use it to bring yourself back to clarity and coherence. And we all know how important that is in our lives, because we'll never make any good decisions if we're not clear and coherent. Right. You know, another strategy that I really love, Vicky, and I have a whole book about this coming out. It's at the publishers now. And it's another sign I recommend everyone put up in their business. And you've seen it. I see it here in government buildings oftentimes. Abuse will not be tolerated. And so this is about how to bully-proof yourself in the workplace or at home and with your kids. So I so much encourage people to learn bully basics, bully buttons, bully tactics, and simple bully-proof strategies. And I'll just share a couple here. So, you know, bullies are not bad people. They're people with bad behavior. But they have a very durable behavioral style. We know that because look how many bullies there are. So, for example, never believe a bully. You put that on your radar right now. As soon as you encounter somebody who's trying to take power over you, you don't believe them. For example, they say things like, you should never have been born. Well, now, is a bully in charge of who should be born? That's a good reason to never believe a bully, yes?
Right, absolutely.
So I love also Jackie Chan, the famous martial artist.
Mm-hmm.
So he never stopped people from bullying him until he was strong enough to intervene. And he stopped someone else from being bullied. After that, he was able to stop a bully when anybody tried to bully him. But so one of the things I recommend is after you've successfully stopped a bully, not in front of the bully, you make sure that the bully's not around, you do the hiya. And this reminds you do it silently if you want, or you take the Superman stance. You know how doctors do that before they go into surgery sometimes? You do this so you reinforce to yourself, I am not powerless. So, and to talk about Jackie Chan a little bit more, the first time he intervened, that was what gave him strength to stop bullies on his own. And it reminds me of what Desmond Tutu, the late and great human being who shared so much wisdom with us, said, if you're a mouse and an elephant has its foot on your tail, the mouse will not appreciate your neutrality. So intervening in bullying is good, but you want to have as many people around you as you can. But that's why I encourage bully-proof training, so that all of you will come together, and that does often stop a bully. But the next thing about this in your organization is that this is the missing piece in all the anti-bullying organizations that I studied. And that is that you have to figure out how to get the target off your back. And this was proved in a study of 12,000 youth. Over 25 states, was it, I think? Anyway, it was just under 12,000 youth. And they asked them all the questions about all the strategies they were taught. And one of them was, the universal sign stop. 41% of the time that makes it worse.
Oh.
Yeah, that's why we have to add in different strategies. And the strategies we have to add in is the answers to the simple question, why is he bullying me? So I had a guy one time who threatened me with a gun, and he, without me saying a word to him, I just kept doing these strategies. One of the questions, Vicky, is that we have to ask ourselves is, what am I giving a bully that I shouldn't? When I asked that question of myself, it came really quickly to me, power. I was submissive, thinking that if I'm submissive and he has all the power, then he won't hurt me. 100% wrong. As soon as I realized that, I started not being submissive anymore because it wasn't serving me. It didn't get me what I wanted. And also, as soon as you see something in yourself that's not part of your nature, it starts to dissolve because light has been shone on it. So the 6 or 8 questions that are in the Bully-Proof book and in the Bully-Proof training, they help you get that target off your back, because bullies don't just bully everybody. They have a reason that they bully certain people.
Yeah, and in our industry, it's it's spouses. It's spouses bully one another. Right.
Yes.
Right. And I'm assuming, like, even in the workspace, that there are some people drunk on power that might bully others. So I think that's an interesting thought process. I love that. So what did you do? So the guy with the gun, let's put a bow around this. Were you able to dissolve that, or was that a learning issue? A learning moment. That
was a learning moment, because that was the moment I said, this is enough. I need to figure out what about bullying. So I brought to bear upon this issue of bullying my work in teaching conscious conflict resolution in 6 countries. Because as I applied those strategies towards the terrible issue of bullying, what happened was he walked out of my life. He disappeared from my life without me saying one word, just by me doing these strategies. But I mean, I've been working with people with these strategies for many years now. And one thing I notice is it's important not to say anything to the bully for a while until you've learned some of these strategies. And then you'll find that the bully just disappears. And in my case, he's a member of the family. So when there are family get-togethers, because I've done all this work, he just steers really clear of me, and he doesn't address me. He wants to stay clear of me because I've got his number.
Right.
He can't bully me anymore, and he slinks off and pouts.
Right, because you've made him uncomfortable now, right?
He sees that he can't, there's no hook in me anymore. That's what I want for all of your people going through divorces, not to have that hook. And in HR, same thing. We don't want anybody bullied. That just doesn't serve anyone. Exactly
right. So let me ask you, you've got some things about conflict resolution. What are some, I guess, your best tips for that?
Okay, for conflict resolution, my tips are so unusual that you're not going to believe them, and I promise you they work. The first one is, when you see somebody with bad behavior, that triggers a conflict, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes. Well, imagine that in this case, it's triggering a conflict, somebody's bad behavior. So let's say they're rude, and they do it repeatedly. They're rude to everybody in the organization, or in the case of people going through divorce, they're rude to everybody in the family. So the very first thing you do is called the turnaround, and this is from Byron Katie's work. So, for example, I don't want to talk to the person from management. You're in HR and you're saying, no, I don't want to talk to this person because they're just rude all the time. What you do is turn that statement to the exact opposite. I do want to talk to this person from management. That just switches your mind to, might that be true? Mm-hmm. And it opens the door for you to see that actually you do want to, and what you want to say is actually clear and calm. Same if you say, I don't want to be divorced. You turn it around. I do want to be divorced. Vicky, it's almost like, it's kind of like a pros and a cons, but it's a conscious awareness about it. So you get to get clear because you quickly look at both sides of it and see which really is true for you. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, we just hang on and cling to, I don't want to. And we defend that position. And that's never good for us. It causes a terrible amount of stress. The other one for conflict resolution is natural consequences. So you can use this with employees to get better cooperation, or you can use it with kids. So I also recommend this one for policy manuals when I talk to entrepreneurs. And here's my example of this. So if it's raining and I go outside without an umbrella, that's the action. What's the consequence? I get wet. If I'm late for work, that's the action. What's the consequence? I feel anxious. I have relationship troubles at work. And I do have a few or many extra minutes, depending on how late I am, to get something else done. Maybe I'm playing a game. That's also true. Those are natural consequences. I might lose my job. That's also a natural consequence. This just brings into clarity what's the reality, instead of just sticking to one side or the other side. So I recommend everyone, you make an honest list in your business of consequences using the usual action and consequences of anything that happens in your business. That takes so much stress out of your conversation with them. Because here's just, it's just like the emotion comes out and the reality comes in. And it puts the behaviors under the spotlight for themselves. And then everybody gets to choose, because the consequences are already attached to whatever action we ever take. Right. So this just brings brings this to the forefront. So I really like that strategy and have used it for many years in my own businesses with my own employees. So I have another one.
Let's hear
it. Okay. So, when you see somebody who's disagreeable, demanding, and you start to feel tense,
mm-hmm.
unless it's asked for, but what can I do to help? Because that does checkmate that person. They're not used to being asked, what can I do to help? Somebody saying that to them when they're being disagreeable and demanding.
Right,
So
exactly. You're turning the energy in that around, right?
Exactly right, Vicky. And there's an old proverb, when you help your brother's boat to the shore, yours arrives too. So you can take something that could blow up just with this one simple, calm statement. What can I do to help? They do not know what to do with that. And oftentimes it just calms them right down.
Well, as we wrap this up, what is the most important thing you offer to our listeners?
I offer your own well-being to you, because that's what's at the root of this. We're just uncovering the long forgotten whisper of well-being for you. And because I've seen it, I want it for everyone.
Absolutely. And well-being is, it brings the temperature in the room down, doesn't it?
Yes, that's
right.
A good way to say it. Yes.
Right. And in the case, we're in the divorce space, and we're in the divorce space with their work environment, because it's so impacted, right? That they come in frazzled and crazy, and just like that person you were talking about, where you say, how can I help? Talking about just changing the energy of that person's life in that moment can be a big game changer, and also feel that they have some, some support from for their employers too, because that's a good way to end a grumpy, child temper tantrum, right? Is that, hey, what can I do to help? That's awesome. Well, let me ask you, Brenda, before we leave, I want to give you an opportunity to share a little bit about your website, how people can contact you if they should have this, a need to have somebody like you come in and speak about dissolving stress.
Yes. Well, thank you, Vicky. So my website, as you mentioned, is thekidcode.ca. And we have almost 11 Kid Code teachers now who offer online courses, and I promote them, saying to parents or anyone that you can learn a strategy you can use today in the time it takes to have a coffee break. And I'm also available to train staff on any of these strategies I've shared on Zoom meetings, and there's the option to choose that on my website. There are also free resources for educators and for parents on my website, so please take advantage of those. They're under resources. And my 4 books are listed there. And I'm so grateful that I can share this.
Yeah, it's really a wonderful thing. It's so funny because you wrote it for parents to deal with their children, but sometimes employees can act like children. So, Brenda, thank you so much for being with us today. I appreciate you so much. And everybody that's listening, thank you for being a part of this today. Always look for some great content from us around how to help your employees go through that divorce process. And I hope you found today's tips and techniques interesting and something that you can bring into your workplace to help bring that temperature down. So thank you, Brenda. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and we will catch you next time. Thanks again.
Thanks, Vicky.
Bye.
Blue skies smiling at me.
Just when I finish my to-do list,
we need more chips, Mom.
Honey, I need a lot of chicken.
Something else comes up. That's when I use Instacart to help get everything we need from BJ's Wholesale Club delivered right to our door in as fast as 1 hour. And then finally I can relax.
Mom, I think we're out of toilet paper.
Time for another BJ's order. Download the Instacart app or visit instacart.com to get $10 off your first order using the code BJ'sWholesale10. Offer valid for a limited time. Minimum order $35. Additional terms apply. Just when I finish my to-do list,
we need more chips, Mom.
Honey, I need a lot of chicken.
Something else comes up. That's when I use Instacart to help get everything we need from BJ's Wholesale Club delivered right to our door in as fast as 1 hour. And then finally I can relax.
Mom, I think we're out of toilet paper.
Time for another BJ's order. Download the Instacart app or visit instacart.com to get free delivery on your first order. Offer valid for a limited time. Minimum order $10. Additional terms apply.